Hi.
Hey, Lynnsey Gardner with News 4 Jax.
Yes.
We've met briefly before. I've called your office a few times this week.
Okay.
Curious if we could talk to you about the situation at Washington
I
Heights
would
and what you're
love
doing to help the residents there.
I would love to. One of the things that, let me be very clear that I want to send a message. I'm not into exploiting the residents that are economically challenged. I don't believe that it takes the media to get the job done. Everybody is crystal clear. From federal HUD all the way down, there are steps. If people do their job, the residents would not be forced to grapple with the lifestyle that they're having. I met with Reverend Hamlet offline. I met with them in person. I attend all of the tenant association meetings to talk with the residents to try to resolve these matters without exploiting their conditions.
So are you saying that we exploited the conditions of the people living at Eureka Gardens?
No, what I'm saying is that I don't believe it takes the media to get the job done. What I believe
You think that people at Eureka Gardens would have gotten help without us stepping in to shine a light on the situation before the mayor went in with that code enforcement sweep?
No, what I believe is, what I'm saying is that, start from the top, people have responsibilities. If they do their job, it would not have resorted to this measure.
Right, so Reverend Hamlet and Global Ministries have not been doing their job, which is what leads us to today.
Not just Reverend Hamlet, I'm going all the way to federal HUD. You have these conditions all throughout of America. I don't know why people are acting like today that we're just realizing that folks that's economically challenged, living in HUD-supported residents are having problems. They're challenged. You can go all the way to New York City, California, down to Florida, and know that these conditions exist. They're deplorable. Federal HUD need to do their job.
So what are you doing as a representative of Washington Heights to help make that happen?
And I think that's an excellent question. One of the things that I do, like I stated earlier, we have tenant association meetings. I'm in direct conversation with Reverend Hamlet, giving him ultimatums, asking him to develop plans, strategy plans as to how he's going to repair the facilities. But the truth of the matter is, that building is old. It needs to be pushed down, and monies need to be released from Washington so we can build better living quarters for residents. But in the meantime, my conversation has been with Reverend Hamlet. Listen, you need a strategic plan.
So has he given you one?
Yep. Yes, he has, and we've said.
Can you provide us a copy?
Absolutely. Well, I would ask Reverend Hamlet to provide that copy for you.
Do you have a copy?
Yes, I do. And one of the things, I put another call into him, because if he has no intentions of, my understanding, remodeling, complete renovation, if that's not going to happen, then I would ask him to do one of two things. Just sell the property, close it down, and then let those residents look for another place to live. And that's really, those are really the only two solutions that's out there. You can repair them. I look for complete renovation is what I'm looking for. And the other thing that I'm looking for, if he can't do that, then just advise the tenants, advise the city, listen, it's too much for me to invest in renovation of these apartments, and the federal government is not giving them the money to push them down and rebuild. It's just not practical, and then we're going to close it down and then give people a chance to go somewhere else. That's my position. That's been my position. I put a call out to him yesterday. I asked my secretary to call him again this morning so we can make that contact, so we can put this behind us.
But we've seen Mayor Curry, Councilman Dennis, and Councilman Hazuri all come out against Reverend Hamlet and Global Ministries, saying they want them out of town. Are you giving Reverend Hamlet a pass?
Absolutely not. And I don't believe that it's even fair to ask anyone. I mean, hell, we have Cleveland Arms that's out there. We have plenty of apartments that's receiving funding from HUD that's below standard, okay?
Yeah, but Washington Heights passed with 1/100th of a point, 60.01. It's squalor.
No, I understand, but I don't believe that asking folks to, I'm not going to say, hey, listen, you leave town. What I'm asking is, make a decision, do your job, provide the residents with a quality life, a quality place to stay, or sell the properties.
It's been 7 months. Is he doing his job?
Well, it's been, as far as I'm concerned, it's been 40 years since that place looked like that, since all these apartments have looked like the way that they look. So I'm not giving anyone a pass. I just don't believe that standing before you all, standing before the city saying, get out of town, I say fix it. Go all the way back up to the federal government, ask them to do their job, all the way down, because there is no reason why. I lived in the community. I grew up minutes from Washington Heights, minutes from Cleveland Arms. They look the exact same way as it looked when I was a child. So when people stand there and say, get out of town, hell, they should have been saying that a long time ago. Or, now go back to people need to do their job. We have inspectors that get paid to inspect. They need to do their job. And if they're not getting, and even Reverend Hamlet, I'm not giving him a pass, if he's not getting the funding support that he needs in order to manage those apartments.
He gets $6 million a year in federal money to manage Jacksonville properties.
And let's be very candid about that. They all get money to manage those properties, but none of those guys are in it as a charity case. That's all of them making money. This is why we have problems with our rental properties. I mean, the list goes on in Jacksonville. What I'm saying, what we need to do is ask people to do their job. Let's not let nobody off the hook. And as far as the city resources, we do what we can. We have limited resources when we send code enforcement out there. Very limited resources.
But isn't it better to do something than nothing?
Absolutely. We've been doing a little bit all of my life.
Well, why aren't you bringing code enforcement out to Washington Heights like it was done at Eureka Gardens 7 months ago?
Oh, absolutely. That's probably the most ridiculous thing I've heard since we've been talking today. And the reason I say that is because code enforcement has been out there. We walked the community. I walked not just with Reverend Hamlet and Bishop. We went out there with code enforcement, went through.
When was this?
This had to be 4 months ago, 3 months ago. But the one thing that I do, and I'll go back to what I said, I'm not going to exploit the residents. We do not need the cameras going into their living quarters.
So you think exposing the problems and the deplorable conditions they're living in on the news is exploiting them rather than trying to get them help?
I think exposing the situation, but when we take and put residents on cameras, all right, we destroy
residents who want to talk.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. What we're doing when folks are economically challenged, I believe, when we put them on camera, we're destroying their dignity. Let's fix the problem, is what I'm saying. Just fix the problem.
Well, if you know it's been a problem for 40 years, why weren't you fixing it before the media got involved?
Listen, we have been. In fact, they would tell you, you can go right in there and pull my name up and see how many times I, Reginald Lamar Brown, have called code enforcement throughout District 10, throughout the city of Jacksonville. So going back to resources, this is where we are. Limited resources. Hell, we don't have enough staff with code enforcement to do what we're supposed to do with the city. It's been limited resources, not that has created this problem, but in terms of magnifying the problem here in Jacksonville.
So as an elected official, what are you doing to fix it?
Again, we're working with Reverend Hamlet, making sure that he give us another strategic plan with deadlines. I can tell you that it's his intent and his investors' intent to renovate the facility. They had a 10-year projection. They brought it down to 7. To me, that's a good start. Going out there, making sure that they have maintenance workers to cover the maintenance concerns that's out there, and dealing with those, I call them high issues, high priority issues. All those things have been done.
But these are health and safety issues. These are big problems. We went into a pregnant woman's unit who had water and sewage leaking into her bathroom, into her bedroom, over her light fixture. Also a huge broken piece of metal on her front door with rusted nails. She has 3 children under the age of 7, including a baby. I mean, these are big problems.
Okay, that's actually a big problem with a simple solution. All the tenant association has to do, and the manager of that complex, is move them to another apartment. I'm sure none of them are full to capacity. It does need to be addressed in terms of repaired, but I think the initial thing is we have to ask those simple questions. Why aren't the management company moving those individuals to safer environments within their complex? I mean, I don't want it to be perceived that we don't care, because we do care. What I'm saying is that what we're doing right now is not it's not, in my opinion, it's not helping the situation. We need to, again, it's real simple, get with the federal government, find out who has passed these inspections for the last 20 years, because they've been passing them, and why is 60 a passing score? I mean, if your house was at 60%, you wouldn't have an appreciation for it, neither would I. So why would 60%? Let's look at the total problem.
But it was a 67 before we ever got involved. So if you agree that a 60 is not good, where were you 7 months, 12 months, 2012, when Hamlet bought these properties?
Well, I've said, and it's documented, that we need to, and I'll go to Washington Heights. When I first took office, my initial intent was to have Washington Heights leveled, and let's start with renovations similar to Durkeeville. I think we need to have Durkeeville projects all over Jacksonville. I've been saying this since day one. Again, if you can't get the federal dollars coming from Washington to do those projects, the city, we can't afford to do them.
So are you blaming the federal government, or do you think this is Reverend Hamlet's fault?
No, I think this is a collective fault of many. We can point fingers. That's not going to get it done. I don't do that. I believe that everyone is playing a responsibility in this, from the management of the company all the way to Washington, D.C. And if we fix all of those problems, we take care of Jacksonville. That's what I believe.
So
let me just say this. I don't want no one to think for 7 months, for 5 years, that I have not been concerned as not just an elected official, but just as a resident of Cleveland Road. I've been more than concerned with that. The problem is, it goes back to me personally. If I had to live there and I was not satisfied, I would cancel my voucher and go somewhere else.
But they all can't do that. There's not places for them to go, which is why they turn to their city councilman to step in and get them help.
Yes. And
have you done enough?
Absolutely. We are trying. I think the next step for the mayor, and this will be even for Missouri as well as Dennis Garrett, let's get the federal HUD in here. Let's sit down and let's find out whether or not there are federal funds to actually do what we need to do. And why give, I mean, you know, we like, well, what are we doing locally? Well, why even give Reverend Hamlet additional time if we know that he's not doing what he needs to do? Why? Why are we doing that? Well, they're giving him time. If you're going to give a person time, then you need to honor it. And you need to be able to measure whether or not he's making progress. And so what I did was I asked him to give me a projection as to what it is that he needs to do and when would he have these things accomplished.
What's his projected deadline to complete these repairs you're saying he's told you he will do at Washington Heights?
Right. We even went beyond the deadlines with those repairs, and the city actually gave him those. I was looking at a future projection in terms of complete renovation, because that's what it's going to take. The place is old. It needs to be completely renovated. So his commitment, again, to me was initially 10 years. I said, that's not going to do it. He said, well, I'll get with my guys. He called me back and said, what about 7? To completely renovate the facility. So to me, that's progress. You know,
7 years is a long time for 200 plus families.
Well, I would say, well, now you're blowing that out of context. When I say,
oh, I just took what you said.
No, but 7 years for complete renovation is what I said. So not to do something for the residents, and I don't want to send that message out. We're asking him, the city is asking him to do something basically on I would call it a monthly, giving him 7 months. So I would assume, I would like to believe that he will at least take the initiative, not to wait until the 7th month to do construction, but this is an ongoing process. And in fact, I'm confident that it's ongoing because I'm with the Tenant Association monthly, doing a checklist as to the concerns of the tenant to make sure whether it's removing mold or painting, removing rust.
Can you provide us those documents?
Well, I would leave that up to the Tenant Association at Washington Heights to do that. That's their responsibility.
I guess in closing, are you in support of what Mayor Curry, Councilman Dennis, and Councilman Missouri have come out and done for the people of Eureka Gardens and hopefully for Washington Heights?
Absolutely. I would welcome any effort to provide a better quality of life for anyone. What I'm saying is, it's bigger than just going out doing repairs. all of these establishments need to be torn down, and we need to have federal support to build new houses here in Jacksonville. Outside of, Durkeeville, what other projects have we had new in terms of development by the federal HUD? We need dollars to come in from the federal government to do these things.
Just trying to go back and understand, do you feel like Mayor Curry, Councilman Dennis, and Councilman Hazuri have contributed to exploiting the people of Eureka Gardens through the media?
No, absolutely not. I said my position. My position is if I can get things done without bringing the media in, the cameras in, to residents that live in those areas that's economically challenged, then I would do that. And so I think we've made progress, and I think if you look across the board, all of these apartment complexes are probably in the same condition, whether the media has been there or not.
Right. But the families at Eureka Gardens do not feel like we've exploited them, the ones that we have shown on the news, because they've invited us into our home, into their homes. Do you feel like we've exploited them?
Well, I can't speak for those individuals. If I was in that situation, I would not want the media in my house if I was economically challenged to basically display all of the functions that's there. Now, especially if I have the management team that's trying to work with me. As long as I'm making progress, then I don't have a need for the media. Now, maybe these folks felt like there was not enough progress being made at Eureka Garden and other places, and so this is why they took the actions that they've taken. I don't condemn them for that. I'm saying if you're asking me, why haven't I called the media and say, hey, come with me? That's just not my style of leadership.
So do you feel like Councilman Dennis in particular exploited those people by having us out there?
No, absolutely not. I said that's not my style. Everybody has different styles of leadership. My style is to try to get everything done bottom up. If I have to go to the top, and this is where it appears that we have to go, I just need to get the media on board. I need to get the mayor and everybody else on board. Let's get HUD, the federal HUD down here, and let's come up with a strategic plan as to how we're going to bring funding to Jacksonville to deal with the economically challenged individuals that need the government support. That's what we have to do.
Well, then why not return my calls over the last 2 days when I was trying to get your side as to what you've been doing for Washington Heights?
Well, now you have to understand a couple of things. I assume that you call my office. If you look at my calendar, I've been in meetings. In fact, if you look at it today, I'm in meetings from 1 o'clock until 8 o'clock at night. If you look at my calendar yesterday, in terms of council, again, my calendar has been extremely full. I got your message yesterday. In fact, I reached out to my assistant and told her to give you a call because I'm going out to Washington Heights next week for our tenant association meeting.
On the 21st at 11 a.m.
Yes.
We'll be there.
Yes. Well, I'm asking the tenant association, this is my request, that we have a closed door meeting. Let's see, can we resolve it? And if they would like to talk to you all afterwards, that's fine, but not inside the meeting. Right.
Anything else you would like to add?
Absolutely not. I think that if we all work together and we work hard and we give them the resources that they need, we can get this done. But pointing the fingers at each other, thinking that one person is doing more than another and that we're fighting, that infighting is not going to get us where we're trying to go. So I just ask that we go to where the problem is funded at the most, and that's the federal government. Let's look at their inspectors and their inspection lists, and let's raise the bar. 60% is low, and that's how I feel. 60% is low.
How do you feel about Reverend Richard Hamlet?
I feel that he should take a more visible ownership as to what's going on here in Jacksonville. I know that if he can't be everywhere, but he needs to at least have someone that represents his organization here and give some very fluid answers as to what his intent will be in order to accomplish the goals that has been set before him. But I will go back to say that, none of these guys sign up for this stuff is for goodwill. I do believe they should do a good product, or give a good product, but they're in it for gain, financial gain, and we all know this. And so I don't want us to walk away thinking that we can't or shouldn't have a tighter restriction or constraints on these folks that's in this business for money. That's what they do. The more they spend, so you
don't believe GMF is in it for the Christian ministry?
No, what I'm saying is the business within itself. I don't point fingers at folks. I'm not singling out any particular person. That the nature of that business is for these folks to make money, and the federal government has a responsibility to make sure that folks that they're trying to provide services for is not being exploited.
So you say don't be blinded by a charity. Make sure they're still doing their job.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would say that even within an investment company, everybody needs to do their job. That's all I ask. Do your job. That's it.
All right. Thank you so much.
You.
Appreciate your
All right.
time.